Hey guys, one second. Sorry, it's got a cough. Sorry about that. I just have slight allergies to grass, and so kind of mowed the lawn today, and just allergies. So, it's not bad. Okay, this is our Wesley So um, marathon because I'm trying to do the candidates tournaments, the Wesley So candidates tournaments for when they do the candidates. So we're going to try to do all of his games, and then we'll move on to each one of the candidates, and we'll look at their games and just learn from them. That's how you get better, is learning from the chess games of the candidates and the players, as well as using the engine to learn to set up lines that you can go over and learn too. So that's what's cool as well. All right, let's see. Wesley So is white, and Ding Lauren is black. Okay, Wesley went e4, e5, knight f3, and knight c6. It's too bad he didn't go for the Scotch game. The Scotch game is so cool. There's a lot of different lines that you can set up here. And so like if after that, if he plays like here, and you take, there's that line there, which you're threatening mate right away, so you have to give back the piece. So you kind of have that line, and you have to play something like this, and it goes to an endgame real fast, and with something like knight. But actually, you wouldn't want to do the knight, but sometimes you have to. Then you play knight there, and he castles. Oops, not f8. Castles, and castles queenside. It's something similar to this, and you trade activity for white for kind of a not very good pawn structure, and that's kind of what this line is. Then I believe there's another line. Let me see. I see, like what we talked about here, here. Takes, and then what is usually played is you could take back with your pawn here, but they usually take back there. And then what you do is you play here and here. You could play there if you want. And then he takes, and retreat back, and you get somewhat of an attack there. So you got to be careful by moving your bishop. So you can actually place your bishop here and then place there, and then you take, and you get castles, and now you're kind of ready for an attack with your two pieces zooming down the board. Then there's there's this line with let me see, how would I gotta remember how they do this. There's a line. I think that there's the if I'm not mistaken, this is the classic variation, and I'm trying to remember what the move after this is. One second. And I think that this is equal. Yeah, it's something like this. I'm trying to figure out what white's. Okay, yeah, I remember now. This is it. And then he slices in. Then he comes back. Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird lines for the Scotch. So that's we'll have to go over the Scotch. Find some good Scotch games. Excuse me. All right. Let's see. But he did the Ruy Lopez. So that's what Wesley played. And this is the closed variation. I think we went over this already once, but I want to do like what all Wesley So's candidates ones, even the ones that he lost. I really don't want to do those, but you know what? You have to learn from them. So we'll even have to do all those. Then we'll move on to the other candidates. See, when he plays here and you castle, so you're thinking, wait, can't he win there? No, then you play there, and then you win a pawn back. And if he plays here, now you lose your queen, and that's kind of a trick that you got to be a little careful of. That black doesn't walk into that, and then you lose the queen, and it's game over. So that's why I played bishop there to block. Now that is on pre. That can be taken. And that's why the rook was played, to guard it. Because Wesley doesn't want to, if he doesn't have to, dedicate his knight to c3. He could play d3 and maybe later on move his knight out to d2. And when this gets pushed, he can go to c5 and then double attack that pawn. So, don't always just be hasty to develop your knights. Principles, yes, knights before bishops, then you don't bring your queen out, control the center, and then castle early. I understand that, but just be careful that you don't that you don't castle into a checkmate mating idea. So I castles, and then this is for one purpose. c3 is so that c4 could be played. And if takes, now the knight could go there and get outposted. And if need be, bishop c2. Like if he plays here, you just play bishop c2, and you're holding on to your two bishops, which the imbalance is slightly equal. You do have one sitch though. You do have a pawn on c3, but that could be an advantage. You can play b4 or d4, and you have a lot of play, so it depends on what you want to do. But so he just played Ding played d5, takes, knight takes. Now you're up a pawn, takes, and c6 was played. So Wesley's up a whole pawn. But the strangest thing is, he's up a pawn, but the position is equal. See, that's the thing that we have to talk about, is that, see, even though you're up material, it doesn't mean that you're winning. Sometimes your opponents will actually give you material, and then they'll defeat you because you're eating too much material, and they've drawn you away, and then they checkmate you. So just be careful when you get fed material. Make sure that the material that your pieces are eating are, it's not poison. The poison pawn. So just make sure. Okay. So he retreats his rook back. Wesley's up a whole pawn, but positionally, he's not winning. So the position is still locked, and Ding's pawns are more advanced down the board than Wesley's. This c4 pawn also is a neck problem for Wesley. It's now become a pain in the neck. One second. Excuse me. Okay, pain in the neck. So d4. He has to play d4 sometime. d3. That potentially, now he's threatening to play c4. So that pawn takes, and now his knight has the accessibility of c3 again. And okay, that's under attack. That's under attack twice. So potentially he can win the knight. So the queen comes in. Now it's threatening mate. g3 is played. queen h3. Ooh, you're getting close to the sensitive point, the g2 square, so he's got to be really careful. Development takes. You have to be a little bit cautious when I don't know, maybe that was actually a better idea now that we think about it. I think that might have been best. Let's take a look. Okay, it's not best. Oh, I see why, because he then can jump in there. Okay. then you play bishop to f4. That move does make sense. Then bishop takes. Then takes there, and slightly better, still equal, slightly better for white though. Still equal, still equal. So even though here you can come up, and if he takes here, you take back with the queen, and it has to retreat out because then you double up, and it's. I don't know. I actually prefer white here. In my opinion, I prefer white. One second. I prefer white, and that's because of how the structure for black is weakened. If we could trade off all these pieces here, and then we're just down to kings and this structure, white is totally dominating, because this is a problem that the king's gonna have to worry about the entire endgame, that pawn. So I don't know why Wesley didn't go for that. This just makes sense. You know what? His light squared bishop is silly placed anyways. He's gonna lose his pawn. Why not just get this powerful knight off the board? And he did. Oh, that was the right move. Who'd have thunk? So the Stockfish did like his move. I have to step back then. Wow. And what was this idea about? Why did it like that move? Go figure. Huh. Tells you that they use computers, because that was a computer line. So. And let's see, it says knight to, oh, so it likes that move too. You see how these, you can prepare, I believe that I heard one time from, I'm not exactly sure who, that an amateur played a grandmaster, but he had priorly kind of went over lines with the computer engine, and basically he memorized certain lines, and he was able to beat a grandmaster using an amateur with engine understanding, was able to beat a grandmaster. So it tells you that maybe some of these we should think about, you know what, maybe using an engine, just, you know what, plugging in ideas that you have, coming up here and taking a look at, you know, is it good for you? Is a certain move good for you? Does it, if you're playing as white, let's say you want to play as white, and it says a negative, find out why it's a negative, and then go back and find the move that actually works for you. And you don't always have to do like the computer lines that they want you to go down. Do a move that you may think, like in the London, I'll have to go over, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Then you can also use this for your studies, because it's really cool that you can use the engine to find out weaknesses, and it'll even take you to where tactics could be played, and that's a really neat thing. So I'll have to show you after we do this. Or if you guys have any games you want to go over, we'll go over some games before that. So, and then we'll go over some puzzles and have some fun. Okay. Bishop. Yeah, the knight comes. So that was a interesting. See, now you let the computer, you kind of let the computer go with this, with the bar up here, and you wait till it's all done. I understand you're probably thinking, this is an AlphaZero, correct? I understand that, but we don't have access to AlphaZero. Stockfish 9 is the best engine we have at the present time that I know of. Uh-oh. Wait a second. What happened? What in the world? Yikesies. Okay, good. We're at the right spot. Okay. So then he plays H4 and takes, and then the reason that you use engines, and it's really, I've kind of figured out why grandmasters have seconds. They go over all these different lines, and the grandmasters then sit down and they're able to learn the lines. So it's really nice if you have a second that does a lot of the looking up, and then you could take the moves that you play, put them into chess databases, and find where the games, and you can look on one side, does that move, how many games won for your color and how many games won for your opponent's color, and then you can kind of see if that's a line you kind of want to keep in your repertoire of moves. It was actually where I kind of learned that was the last year, the U.S. Open. Maurice Ashley was it was a Fabiano game versus, I forgot who he was facing. I think it might have been Varkovian. I'm not exactly sure. I have to I have to look that up. But he played this one move that two moves down the road. At first, the move wasn't good for him, but then when Var played like a couple moves, it ended up the move that Fabi played down the line in like about 4 or 5 moves, or 3 or 4 moves, I think. He was actually the games. There's like 19 of them, I believe, and 18 of them favored his side for wins, and the other one was like a draw. And that's how kind of they judge lines that they want to keep in their back pocket for moves. And it's kind of whoever can get a lot of those lines under their belt and have them organized through like memory systems, and keeping it in their brains so that they can pull it up when they face other grandmasters. And also, you have to remember, the stages that we're maturing through. The majority of the games are won through tactics. So and inside of these computer lines, tactics do arise. So you just gotta keep that in mind. Do you see how Wesley? If I'm not, let's see if Ding plays B4. I want to see if Ding plays B4. And guess what? He plays B4. Guess what? That's a computer move. That tells you right there. They do use computer engines for their understanding. So just keep that in mind. If you're like, how do I study? Use the computer engine. Get an opening book if you're interested in certain openings. And 1 second. And play the opening out a little bit, and then find out if it favors you or if it favors the other side, and then you can find out and then you can take that and plug it into a database like ChessBase, and you can find out if what side it favors more. Does it favor your side more, even though the computer says that it's a positive, or does it favor your opponent through prior gameplay of other players? It's kind of how you got to do it. I'm kind of learning how to study better. It's kind of taken me a while, so I'm kind of trying to help you guys avoid going through all the headaches of how to study so that you can improve quicker as well, because that's the whole point of teaching, is to help others improve. And a lot of players, for some reason, grandmasters, have forgotten that a little bit. And that's one thing so Wesley didn't. Let's see, is that okay? Wesley didn't do the computer move. So, and you see, by not doing the computer move, he lost a 0.1 advantage. See, it was 0.2. He lost a 0.1 by not doing the computer line. Ding did the computer line. Bishop. And so, if you notice, he did the computer line there. The rooks went back. Ding actually should have played rook to. Let's see if the computer. Let's just let the computer kind of go to the end here and see what it actually decides. The engine. Come on, engine. Oh, so it does agree with taking here. This would have actually helped out. And so that would be a move that would have been played. See, that even tells you that they don't have all the lines understood, and that's the interesting thing. That's when like Alexander, when he kind of made when he was facing Fabi at the very end. A lot of the lines that Fabi took him down, I don't believe he had from computer lines. I don't know what lines he did study, but it's when if you have to go from computer or book learning to calculation, you're in a big problem, because at that point you're at a book and now you're thinking, and the human mind makes mistakes. But if you have a line that you already have built from home base or home study, then you should be fine. Rook d3. What happens if he plays this one? Oh, he gets a 0.1 advantage. So he goes from 0.2 to 0.2 to 0.3. And this is if you wanted to have it do like tons and tons of nodes, you could just do plus, and what it would do is it would take it out extremely long. So, but let's turn that off, and we don't want it to do that. So what we're gonna do is just go through our and just show that Wesley could have, I believe, pulled a win here. I think he gave up too early. I think Wesley could have actually pulled a win here. That's just my opinion. I think that he could have moved his king over and kind of decoyed Ding's pawns away. But at a certain point, the grandmasters know endgames like there's no tomorrow. So. And I did promise you that I would show you what I'm talking about with the computer lines. I'll show you so that you can apply it in your own study. Come on, not oh, perfect. I had computer problems a little bit ago, but not anymore. You can use this and use the ability the Lord's given you to improve. Like if someone played like this, rather than, you don't have to do this line if you don't want to. You can play bishop f4, do like the London, and then rather than that you can go e6, and then you go e3, like this line here, and then like that, and then rather than taking, you can play c3. Knight comes out, and then you see how you're making your own line, and the computer wants, or the engine wants you to play there. But if you play it up here, you would retreat back, and it shows you a line that you play. And if you castle, this is actually the proper line that it wants you to for equality. You could play right here. And at this point, let's say he doesn't take. Let's say he plays here. You can actually push your pawn, and this actually would go to a game. So yeah, you have to be able to see that that's the idea behind this line. And then you would take here, takes, and at this point, if he played the bishop here, then you see how there's a 0.1. Look at, you see how it's a 1.5 or 1.7. That tells you that somewhere along the line, later on down the line of the game of these moves, you're going to somehow either be positionally 1.5 ahead, like winning. Like, see, look at right here, you've won a pawn. Do you see how it showed you back here when he played the computer, or we tried bishop to b7. It said 1.6 pawns. We played here, he played there, takes, and we're one pawn up. So the computer is telling you that you will be one pawn up. You just have to go down that line long enough to get to that 1.8 pawn advantage. And so you can you can move through a computer line all the way out to move 13 without even thinking. You write it down in like your study book, or if you have a database, or if you know how to save or take a picture or something on here, the computer, you can save this and go over it, and you can play it in your over the board games, and then you can just whip that move out like woof 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 woof, and it's like, and your opponent would be like, what in the world? This is a joke. Is that Magnus Carlsen? No, that was just a little humor. Okay, we'll get into puzzles now, but I wanted to share with you kind of what I'm learning, how to learn, so that you guys can use what I've learned to help improve your study as well. Okay, let's get into puzzles now. Alrighty then. Okay, so he played bishop from c8 to g4. Let's see, what potentially did our opponent do? And then when you get to a point where they go out of book, and you know that the move they're playing is really kind of not good, that's when tactics kick in as well. So you have to keep that in mind, that when they go off out of book or out of line, or however you want to do it, so you can memorize your study. Look for tactics like pins, skewers, forks, double attacks, decoys, x-rays, double checks, and all those different tactical understanding. Like in here, all the way from move 1 to, watch, I'll show you. The player played this move, and he castled, and c5 was played, e takes, takes, c3, and g4 was played. And at this point, there's a tactic. there's a tactic here. This is kind of a little different because if you notice this bishop is not protected by this bishop pins the knight to the queen. Do you see that? So this knight is yes, it's protecting the bishop, but in reality, is it truly protecting the bishop? Kind of, you have to think of that. Like, what would happen if we played bishop takes f6? That removes the defender of this, and so what then you could do takes, and then let's say he takes, you take, and then if he takes here, you take here, and you're up a whole exchange at that point. So he would have to, after takes, takes, and then retreat out. You can retreat out as well back to like h4, and I think you're equal at that point. So well, let me see, I think you're up. No, you're equal, so that doesn't actually accomplish much, does it? Let's see, queen takes bishop, knight takes g4, bishop takes queen, rook takes bishop. I don't think we get anything from that. That's also a weak point. So the Aikido principle is there's always weaknesses in moves. So when this bishop moved, that pawn's weak. So potentially there's a we potentially could play bishop queen b3. That would attack this pawn and that pawn. So you know that's an idea. That's like a fork. So we have to see if we can't find like a tactic that's down the road here. Let me see. Queen c2 doesn't really do anything because it's only eyeing that, and there's really nothing. The queen can move here to like up to d6, and it guards that knight. So we have to somehow take advantage of that right away. Oh boy, this is interesting. Let's see, what do we have here? I know it has something to do with this pin, so there has to be something based on this here. Let's see, takes, takes, takes. Well, let's see. Takes, takes, and we're up a whole piece in that scenario. So taking is has to be the correct. Let's see. Bishop takes pawn. So king takes bishop. Queen takes bishop. Queen takes queen. Wait, sorry. King takes bishop. Queen takes bishop. And then queen takes bishop. And we're actually up 2 pieces, so. Oh, you're kidding me, really? How come I don't understand why doesn't that work? Oh, a check. Oh, snikes. And we lose our queen. Okay. I didn't see that. Okay. That was my fault there, guys. Let's see here. Okay, this rook moved, so it's protected by that knight. This rook is also on pre, so you have to kind of, in the Aikido principle, you have to look a little bit further. This potentially rook is an idea for an attack. And how do we do it? Right through to the knight here, so. So what would be a good idea here if we were to think about this? Let's say we play rook takes rook, knight takes. We play queen, c3, attacking the rook. The knight and the other knight. So if he plays here, we takes, and we could drop our knight in there. So, Interesting. If we play knight d6, that attacks that pawn and that pawn. A rook takes, check. Rook takes, check. Queen takes a knight, and we don't get anything. But if we play rook takes rook, knight takes, then we... No, that doesn't work neither, because then he can just take our queen. Yes, he takes here, here, and then we have queen takes e7, or f7, sorry. That threatens a check here. And this knight at the same time. This knight and rook are very important in this sequence of moves. We also gotta not forget we have this knight here too. So let's see, how can we Yeah, I like knight rook takes rook. And then now we have a well, we don't actually have that because he has. Well, we do. Then he's got check there. Let's see what we have here. Huh. That actually wins. That move wins. I believe. Let me see if he plays there. Well, then we gotta check. King moves. Then you have knight to d5, and that's crushing. Yeah. Let me just. We went. Oh, you're kidding. What am I missing here? What did I miss? What I miss? What I miss? What I missed? What did I miss? Oh, shoot. You can't take there because of the queen. I missed that. This is the idea there, and then you drop in the knight. Okay. Yeah, that was my fault again. Drat. Moving too fast. I gotta slow down again. Slow. We're finding the moves because we're breaking it down, but when I move it, sometimes I move too fast. So I have to not do that. I have to keep calculation of each move sequence to make sure that it all works out to the end result of our victory and winning the puzzle. Okay, that left this whole diagonal open, so is there something to that? There is d6, which does double attack the knight. If we play here, he plays there. G5 wins the knight. So that wins this right here, allows us to win the knight. Let's see. Let's see. Can we actually take without a problem? Let me see here. So he takes, and if he checks, we can just bring our queen there, pinning the queen. So I don't see any problem with taking on in this scenario. No problem. There we go. You just have to break these puzzles down, and you can solve them. You just have to break them down. You know what move did they leave behind, and what did they cause? Sometimes a move causes a problem, like it disconnects. Like if there was a rook here and somehow the bishop went here, this rook and this queen is no longer connected because the bishop is there. You just have to keep that in mind. Okay. See, queen takes check. Rook check. Rook takes check. Takes check, and then bishop intercepts. Really don't see anything better than takes, and takes. Check, bishop intercepts. And then we can bring our rook back. And then if he takes here, we take with our knight. Do we accomplish anything after that, or is that more of an equal position? I don't really see anything better than takes. Is there? If we move our queen, he'll take. We'll take. We don't really get anything. Do we accomplish anything though with queen takes b1? Check. We do get the two rooks, so the queen is worth 9 and the two rooks are worth 10, so we'd be up a pawn. And then at the point that everything's trade off, we get a rook there, and the bishop comes here, we could just retreat our rook back, attacking the a4. Even if that takes, the knight can pop in there and do some damage. Trying to see, is there anything else that I'm missing? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Anything? Anything? If you guys see anything that I'm not 100% on, let me know. No, all I see is this, and I believe that works. At that point, we can retreat our rook back to b4. That clogs up the weak spot. Let's see if we take on c4. Queen takes. I don't know. I truly liked that. I like that a lot more than taking here. But the only problem is he does get a passed pawn. b5. No, it's not b5, b4. And if if the queen takes, the pawn takes back, and we've won the queen. So we don't lose anything. This pawn protects the rook if it goes to b4, not b5. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the only move that makes any sense. Oh, so it is takes. Okay. Well, I was kind of a little concerned because if we did move here, he can push onward, I believe, and yeah. So taking here. Well, what about queen takes? What happens? Okay, the knight comes in, and if the pawn, he doesn't really have to push, does he? Well, he can. Okay, he could play there and then drop in. So if he, okay, then he'd have to push there. Then okay, then you push up. Queen comes in there, and at this point you drop the knight in, and you take with your is it your knight? Yeah, not your rook, your knight. And then if you try something like that, or something like here, you can actually do a discovery, so you'd lose the queen. So he'd push. And let me see, would you double up rooks? I probably would just double up rooks. And get that pawn going. Let's see here. Which one would I go to here? Here. So you lose the queen there, so you'd have to come up. And there goes the pawn, okay. Yeah. There you go. If we played rook d8, queen takes, bishop, rook d8, queen takes, rook, bishop takes, and then rook slides over. We move our queen, he comes down, check, comes up, and then takes our bishop. And I don't know if we have enough compensation for the queen. Let's see here. Excuse me. Let's see. If we play bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, rook check, bishop intercepts. Actually, bishop can't intercept, my bad. So here, check. Queen intercepts, then we take the queen. So bishop takes, queen takes, check. If the king moves, the queen takes, and we get a queen. So it's bishop takes, and then we win the queen. There we go. Boom, baby. You gotta love it. I love it when a plan comes together. Let's see, rook check. Excuse me. King comes up. Bishop check. So check up. Check, knight takes, pawn takes. No, we don't get anything for that. Only thing I could see is that we could take the knight, a free knight, but is it actually free though? Well, I guess it is if we check, isn't it? If we check and the king moves up, then we can take the knight. At that point. Yeah, we win the knight at that point. Oh, yikes. Hmm. Okay. Let's see here. Hey, how you doing, Fox? Trying to figure out. This is hanging, so if only we could somehow take advantage of that. This isn't hanging, but that is. That's on pre. If there was a way we can take advantage of that. Yeah, this is on pre, this bishop, because of the queen moving. So we just have to find a move, either a move sequence or a move that takes advantage of that. Ah, actually that does win, doesn't it? Oh, why didn't I see that? That makes perfect sense now. Yeah, go figure, huh? Boy, I missed that totally. I didn't even see that. Yeah, that's it. Yikes! Nice. Well, I didn't even see that. I gotta admit that. I didn't see that. We've done this one before? Oh. It must have been a long time. Oh, Judith Pogar versus... Oh, is this the one that Judith beat Gary in? Oh, oh, so Judith lost to Gary. 2001. Oh, okay. There's one that Judith played Gary when a long time ago. So we'll plug it into this. Actually, we'll put it into this board here. Boom. Okay, there. So taste, take. So like this is Sicilian. Oh, from black side? Okay. Oops. There we go. Yeah, A6 is a standard move in the Sicilian. It stops the knight from actually coming in, or the bishop check kind of thing. Oh, okay. Gotcha. There we go. Oh, not a problem. You know what? Sometimes it's good to turn off the machine every once in a while. It's good for, let me see if queen is interesting there, but I'm not sure if that's the best, because then you have queen here. You played, yeah. So g4. Okay, so he's rerouting in for that point, or here, either one. This allows also for a check. So see how the grandmasters have multitude ideas. There's a checking option, dropping the knight in for a better square, for a better spot outpost, and potentially going there. So they all have they have more than one idea behind each move. And so now he's okay. Now he sees that when Judith played d2. C4 is a pretty sweet spot to jump into, even though the bishop would trade takes. So, which is that that isn't a good idea because of there. So if you're wondering why Gary didn't play that, that's not good. So yeah. Queen side is she knows that Gary's not going to castle queen side, so he's going to be castling king side. So she'll be expanding on the queen side. I mean, like on the king side. Sorry. Yeah, the queen moves there. So let's see here. Let's see there. So the rook attacks the knight. So that rook takes knight. Pawn takes. Potentially you can jump a knight in there and cause some havoc along there. And it also fulfills Jeremy Silman's principle of open file domination. Gary has the open file. And now with this knight moving, it plugged up c5. So the knight can jump in. Wow, this is power play from Gary. the king moves for Judith, and then now all the pieces are flooding in. It's like it's like an avalanche of destruction about to be unleashed on white from black. B3, and then there goes one pair of the bishops is off, and now he just reroutes another knight into c5. So it's like, whoa, potentially queen a5 is an idea too. And then you don't want to play that because that allows for Judith to get a knight to f5, so you don't want to do that. Bishop e7, queen b2, going for the weak g7 square, and now this is locked. This structure is not moving, and Gary potentially could go a5, a4, and just tear open the queen side. And now the rook is protecting, and double attack. Judith can win a pawn with knight takes g7 check. So Gary has to push, and potentially you still have that, but that would be foolish because then your knight's trapped and you don't want that to happen. So she's going to have to reroute her knight out of there. And now there's really no spot for this knight to jump into. Black's structure is pretty much solid, and he doesn't have a light square bishop, guys. So these light squares aren't weak, but Judith's light squares are all weak. And if you notice, the majority of the pawns are on the color of the light squares, so they're nice little bitty sniper tool targets for this bishop here. And trust me, Gary's going to use that bishop for mass destruction. a5, d4, and then the knight retreats back. There's no reason. Now this is unleashed, potentially there, and then here. You know, there's even there. And it's like, oh, destruction everywhere, chaos. You gotta love that. And potentially knight here, sacrifice, takes, bishop takes, forking. So Gary could even reroute here and sack that for that pawn. And then you get a nice little tactic called a fork. Yeah, I see that she has a lot of space, but remember, Gary, yeah, and that's one thing Gary was known for, waiting for the right moment to attack. Judith can't actually push these pawns, because if she does, they end up becoming weaknesses. If this pawn's pushed, Gary's not going to hesitate to either jump in there or jump in here. More likely here. Well, I know I might jump in here now that I think about it. d5. Whoa. E. This is actually a really good move in my opinion. That's a very strong move. The knight has to go to d3. And now the bishop's on a really powerful diagonal. So Gary's doing real good here. Yeah, it's got to be careful of actually this exchange type of setup here. Potentially there's going to be a the reason he plays bishop to f6 is he's a little concerned about f4 being played, because that would undermine his structure. Yeah, and so that's the idea of that's why he played bishop to f6, so that if that's pushed, he could take, and now this bishop has this strong h8 a1 diagonal attack. It is a funny idea, but they're always planning for this. Actually prevents the f4 push, so you always have to think a little ahead. Also, it also allows for a knight to get implanted on e5 sometimes later on in the game, and you have to always consider these things. It's kind of odd at the moment. Some grandmaster moves, like even I think it was Bobby Fischer, I think it was game 6, that the grandmasters of that time had no idea what Bobby was playing, but in the end it was one of the most beautiful World Championship games. So there are probably other beautiful ones, but during that time, at that era, it was one of the most beautiful World Championship games. So g4, g5 is played, and still, you know what? This diagonal, if it ever opens, is like let's just say I wouldn't want to have I wouldn't want to be the king when there's that type of attack line. Knight to b2. She's trying to entice Gary to trade. Gary's not gonna fall for that. He comes up. Now everything's connected. And really, the funny thing is, guys, this king actually on e7 is really safe. I know that this push actually made the king safe. I know that's really funny, what I'm saying, but there's nothing that could come after this king when he goes e7. Yeah, he's safer than safe. There's really nothing that could attack the king, and that's very impressive if you think about it. This king is actually safer than that king, because it doesn't matter if that's played. Even if there's an exchange, this knight will actually jump right in, and so his king is super duper safe. That's pretty darn tootin' impressive. f4 is played. That's yeah. That he's trying to make. See, Judith is an attacker player, and so Gary is kind of like what you're saying, Flash, provoking Judith to attack him, so that when at the right time, he can use her own energy of the attack against her position. That's what the Aikido principle. It's like in Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi. I think it was Karate Kid 2. I think Mr. Miyagi was actually fighting two guys, and he was inside I think it was the Cobra Khan dojo, and they both tried to take him on, and he actually used their own force against them by allowing one like ran into a mirror, the other one hit like a board and all the stuff like that. So you also have to know when the right time to strike is too. So bishop takes f4, and then now, oh sweet, this is so nice. You gotta love this. That's protected. If that gets taken, oh man, this is really nice. That's about to be pried open like a tin can, like a can opener. Wow, it's gonna just crunch this e3, bishop e3, and now that knight's on pre, so it has to be defended. It's going to have to move. That's under attack. And you know what? And remember the bishop that once was bad? Look at this. Look at this damage that it's doing. Oh my. If that takes, that takes. And then now you have a potential idea of there too with a huge attack coming. Boy. But she's doing really good though. She's holding against such a furious attack happening. So you gotta commend Judith for that, doing that. That's Gary is like a bulldozer coming right at you. When he gets an opportunity, he'll just mow you over with an attack. He didn't get to hold his world champion for that long without having, that type of understanding. When to go for the KO. So bishop f4. Let me see here. Bishop takes e5. It takes, and then this bishop is superior. These two bishops dominate the game. Rook takes. And now if Gary can get these rooks off, he'll be winning. He'll actually be winning in this endgame, because the light square bishop will come to life as a superior piece. He wants to get these pieces traded off, and then his minor pieces, Gary's minor pieces, will actually dominate the other ones. So and that's actually interesting that Judith did that. Huh. Wow. Yeah, but and this is on pre, so she does get a passer, so you gotta say that. But remember, this bishop that was kind of blocked by a pawn here now is totally superior. You have to be careful of c7. Oh man, you gotta love this endgame. And now he's gonna take that a5 pawn, check, and then this pawn's gonna fall. So Gary's up a whole pawn. d8, check there, and another pawn's gonna fall. Takes. King f1, check. And now everything's guarded. There's the reason this was checked right here is Gary wants to put Judith in Zugzwangp. At this moment, guys, Judith is in Zugzwangp for her queen. There's really no good spot for her queen to go to, because if she ever moves the queen here or there, this pawn's going to fall. So the only piece that really can move at this moment is, well, I guess she has 3 spots, my bad. If she goes here or here, that pawn falls. If she goes here, the queen takes, that pawn takes, the king takes, and it's winning. So this is actually a good time to resign here. Did I get all the game? Yeah. This was a good time to resign for Judith here. There's no counterplay at all. And she did resign. This was a very brilliant endgame, I gotta say, on Gary's part. it's pretty interesting when you can make a queen passive like that. That is impressive because it's stuck guarding here. And Gary's up 2 pawns, actually 3 pawns, my bad. Okay, we'll go back to puzzles. Thank you, Fox, for this game. That was really good. We'll head into the puzzles, and I'll be right back. That was a really good game. Alright. If we push the pawn here, and he tries there, we can play here. Rook h4. And then with takes, we queen. And then when he pushes, we can check. I believe that's kind of the idea here. Let's see. Here. Let's see if we take here. What do you think, Fox? Do we push? Interesting. I'm pulled between these two ideas here. If you guys have any ideas, I'm more than happy to consider them. Because I see if we push here, he does have a check there. Or more likely he's going to play here. So if we do here, there, 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 queen, push, check. He's going to move there. He can't stand on, he has to be careful that he doesn't walk into a fork here. So it's got to be very but if we play here, he has check, and then we can move, and then he checks, and then he moves, then he checks, and he wins our pawn, and he wins. So I believe it's this, and then now we play here, and then let's see, if we take here, he pushes, push, and then so it's got to be a queen here. Let's see. He's going to have to move there. Because she has to check. We have to check. So checks if he moves here. We have, let me see, where could we check at that point? I guess we could come, because we're here, we could come there, check. Trying to figure out if there's any way, because that's got a queen, and we somehow have to either get a queen here or win a rook. And I'm trying to see if we play check here. Check. 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 And if he comes up, we just slide our queen right there to stop the queening, and then that's under attack. Yeah, so let's do it. There we go. So that's I just want to see how this ends. Okay, here. And then we just, I'd probably just take here. And we're totally winning at that point. Okay. I gotcha. We did good, guys. Good job. Congrats. Let's see here. This is an idea here. We can't. That's a good idea. I like that, but we have to do one thing first. Yeah. First of all, have to play uh, bishop e4 to block the communication with the queen and rook. So bishop e4, and then if knight takes e8, then you can actually throw a check there, and when the king takes, you can grab the queen. I believe that's the move, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to see, is there anything? Well, let me see. No. Well, maybe can we no, because if we played here, he pushes. Actually, we lose our, well, we threaten mate though. There, so he may have to play here, and then we win a bishop. That's a potential idea. If we play here, he can't take because that's mate. So he'll take here, king takes, pawn push. Because I don't really see that we lose a lot of material. And so I'm not sure if I don't think we don't get enough for that. Because then he can play there. Maybe we do. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if that's the only thing that looks like that it would be a yeah, because he doesn't have to take here. If we played there, he could just take there. So I believe that has to be the move. I really don't see any downside to that. Even if he takes here, then the king takes, you push, rook d8, and I don't really see any way he can really take advantage of any of that. I don't see anything. No, I don't, so let's just go with it. Yeah. There we go. Well, I'll show you why in the other line it doesn't work, because why it doesn't work in the other line. I'll show you. Because you're probably wondering why this doesn't work. He has the potential of taking, and then he also could at this point take here, and then it's protected. So it looked tempting, but doesn't work out in the end. Okay, well, I'm gonna do this one, then I'm gonna log, because it'll get us to 2300, and then we'll pick up from there tomorrow. Good water. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see if we. Trying to see what could we play here, because where he's in check, which piece do we want to intercept with? Excuse me. Let me see if we play knight there. I know this sounds funny, but by allowing this check to happen, we can actually take here and win. And if he moves here, we can actually do a discovery check. So I'm thinking it might be knight c3. I don't know. There. Here. Bishop takes rook. Pawn takes check. King can't. King comes up here. We play check, and we win the queen. So he'll come over. Then we play check here, and then he'll be mated at that point. Well, if we play here, I think we win. But he does have that, doesn't he? So knight f. It only works if he plays here. That's the only way that idea works. And then he takes. And then we take, but I think it throws a kink and everything if he actually takes here. I think I think it kinks everything up at that point. Let's see. That's interesting for sure. And then we castle. Not sure about that. One sec, let's just take a look at its game. We'll take a look at the game real quick. Sometimes you can find out through the game's idea what they were planning. So you're thinking that knight, let's see, that knight, knight takes, castle kingside, or maybe potentially he'll play. Interesting. That is interesting. I think you're right with the rook, the knight going there, because if we're wanting to checkmate our opponent, we need the f3 square open for the attack. If we're going to do that, I'm not sure. Boy, this is a it's kind of hard when you walk into an attack like that. It's a gambit. Queen's Gambit accepted. Let's see. Well, that is an interesting idea. E2, King E2 is interesting. But I don't know if we accomplish enough with that, though. Oh. Oh, I gotcha. I know what you mean. Knight D2, yeah. Yeah, you're right on that. I was like, that was an idea, though, so, you know what? You gotta try all the ideas out. But I think you guys are right. I believe that that potentially is best because that does not kind of obligate this knight here to this knight is obligated to being a blockader. So you can always later on play there too. So interesting. So here, there, here, here, and then queen f3, and that attacks the pins the knight and also stops castling. So does a couple things. And then the knight would have to go here. We castle kingside after all that, and we're safe to go. So let's give it a go. Oh. It did do one thing. One thing, it did allow for us to take this pawn, so it did a double attack. It did a double attack idea. Like if he tried knight takes, you just take here first, and then the king would move, and then you could take back with that knight. Then if the bishop played there, you castle kingside, and this is still a thorn in the neck. And you'd have to play there. Knight takes, bishop takes, and I think it's, which rook does it want to take with? That rook. Yeah, I was thinking this rook works. And you still have control over that idea. Yeah. It's okay. We'll pick up here tomorrow. Not to worry, guys. You know what? We're learning as we go. That's the whole thing. It's about improving. Thank you all for coming on. This was really we had fun. We're doing the Wesley So candidate marathon, so we're gonna do all of his games and even the ones that he lost, so that we can learn from them, and then we'll move on to the other candidates and go through their games and learn from those as well. So guys, remember, keep studying chess. That's the whole thing. Keep up on your tactics. That's where it's won or lost in the middle game. And remember that you only learn from your mistakes, so don't dwell there. And remember, there's always a plan in the position. You just gotta find it, and when you do, you get to say, I love it when a plan comes together. So guys, as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a great rest of the night or morning, and be blessed. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye bye, guys.